Hello, here are your solutions to your first summer review packet. So check your work against these solutions and hopefully we can clear up any misconceptions. First, some general comments about your assignments. I know for many of you this is the first time you've done this. Um, in the assignments, I gave instructions on how to submit it. There was a link that you could have referenced on how to turn in an assignment to Edmodo. It is crucial that you do it this way so that I can make annotations, which are notes, to your problems to let you know which ones are correct and which ones are not correct. Your next assignment will be graded, and if you don't submit it that way, then your grade will reflect that accordingly. Okay? So if you have questions, look at that link, the help section of Edmodo, or ask me, and can walk you through it. Also, when you're making a video on YouTube, it's a good idea to proofread that video. Um, if the work is 90 degrees to the left or the right, just saying and apologizing for it probably is not acceptable. Okay, you need to proofread it. If you cannot figure out how to rotate your video, okay, then ask me. But generally, it's just knowing which way your cell phone camera records. There are software programs that will let you do that, such as Movie Maker, okay? Um, I want you guys to be problem solvers, okay? But just letting it slide is not a solution to the problem. Um, More importantly, if you presented your video and your answer was wrong, although I don't think any of you had that problem, uh, that's probably a more important mistake than rotate at 90 degrees. But rotating at 90 degrees for the viewer is very unsettling, and also you need to check the size of the font. Is it legible, okay, when you record it? So proofreading your video is very important. Here's the first three problems that you were given, and we'll do the solutions one by one, okay? The first problem was the absolute value of x plus 2 greater than 3, which is really two problems. One, if what's in the absolute value sign is positive, we set it up as this inequality, and that solution presents itself as x is greater than 1. The other one, we put a negative sign in front of x plus 2 and then solve that inequality, and you get x is less than negative 5. So absolute value has two solutions usually. The next problem is an interesting problem. X is greater than 1 over x. So if you take the approach of multiplying both sides by x, you get x squared is greater than 1. If you take the square root, you get x is greater than 1, so that might be a solution. But what happens if you have a negative number for x? That you have to look at, okay? It's clear that x is greater than 1 is a solution because if I choose, let's say, 2, I get 2 is greater than 1/2, and that makes our inequality true. Okay. The simplest way to solve this and to explain this is let's just check other values for x. So it looks like if x is greater than 1, could x be moving to the left on our x number line, could x equal 1? Well, no, because if x equals 1, then this is an equation, not an inequality. How about could x be a fraction, say 1/2? Well, is 1/2 greater than 1 over 1/2? That would be 2, and 1/2 is not greater than 1/2, so it can't be a fraction. X cannot be 0 because 1 over 0 is undefined. Let's go to negative numbers. Could x be negative 1/2? Okay. Well, negative 1/2, is that greater than 1 over negative 1/2, which is negative 2? Yes, it is. So therefore, x could be a negative fraction less than 1. Could x be negative 1? Negative 1 is not greater than negative 1. Could x be, let's say, a number less than negative 1? Negative 2. No, negative 2 is not greater than negative 1/2. So it would appear to me that the solution here is x greater than 1 and x between negative 1 and 0. Okay. This one was one of the problems you did on YouTube. Very simple. Most of you did it correctly. The only thing I would say is you cannot have a part of a unit, so you would need to either round up or down, and the answer would be 36 units. Next problems. Write the equation of the circle, and then a distance problem. For number 4, equation of a circle, if you remember from, I don't know whether that's trigonometry or algebra 2, is x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared, where h, k are the coordinates of the center, and r here is the radius. So this becomes a very simple problem. You just put in the points that you're given and you square the radius, and you get x plus 4 quantity squared, y minus 3 quantity squared equals 2564. So most of you got that right. The distance problem, however, okay, for the distance problem, you need to use the distance formula, which is d squared equals the difference of the x coordinate squared plus the difference of the y coordinate squared. Plugging in the numbers, we know the distance has to be 5, that's 25, and factoring in what I know, I get that x, 2 minus x quantity squared, has to be 16. So in this case, 2 minus x has to be 4, or 2 minus x has to be negative 4. So therefore, this has two solutions, negative 2, x equals 6. You can check this by just sticking this into the equation and to see if, in fact, you do get 25 when you stick these values into the equation, and you do. Most of you got one of these solutions, but few of you got both of them. Here's the next 3 problems. Find the x and y intercepts, points of intersection, equation of a line. We do this quite a bit in calculus. There is a typo here, which I sent out a revision. This should be a plus sign right here, so I do apologize for that. Okay. The first one, let's find the intercepts of this. So we have y equals x cubed minus 4x. Okay. To find x-intercepts where it hits the x-axis, the y value has to be 0 where it hits the x-axis. So I plug 0 in for y and solve for x. Factoring this, I get x times x squared minus 4, so therefore there are 3 possibilities where this will happen: 2, 0, and negative 2. To find y-intercepts where the curve hits the y-intercept, of course x would be 0, so I make x equals 0, and that only happens when y is 0. Okay, points of intersection. Where 2 curves intersect, they will be equal to one another, because that's what an intersection is. You have the same value. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to take this equation, I have it written correctly here, and set these 2 equations equal to one another. So what I did here is, I think I did this by substitution. I'm going to solve these equations simultaneously. So if y equals 1 minus 2x, I'm going to stick this 1 minus 2x into the more complicated equation, and now all I have is one variable. Foiling this out, I get 5x squared minus 4x minus 24 equals 0. Now you have to use quadratic equation, which, if you forgot, is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. To solve for this, and you will find out that there are 2 roots, or 2 values that, of x that make that equation equal to 0. The first one being 2.627, and to find the y coordinate of that, I go into either one of these equations because they have to be the same, and I find out the y coordinate is negative 4.2454. The other value of x is negative 1.8, and its y coordinate is 4.6. Find an equation of a line that passes through negative 3, negative 4, and 1, 4. Okay, first thing I do here is I need to come up with an equation, so I need slope and a point. Well, I have 2 points, but I don't have the slope. So I calculate the slope as being 2, then I use just the definition of slope to find out the equation, and I get y equals 2x plus 2. This was a video question. Okay. Okay, most of you just found the slope because these are ordered pairs. And finding the slope, once you find the slope, you can take one of the points. The only mistake I saw, I want Fahrenheit related to Celsius. That means it means to be F equals yada 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 C. Okay, so, and some of you used X and Y and you forgot to convert it back. We want Fahrenheit to Celsius. So the correct answer here is, here's how we set up for slope. The correct answer comes out to be F equals 1.8 or 9/5, same thing, C plus 32. Okay? Our y-intercept we know is 0.32 because x is 0, so it must cross the y-axis, or the f-axis if you will, at 32. Okay, 10, we're given a point, negative 3, 2, and we're given a line, okay? I rearranged this line and to put it into mx plus b form, and I want to find a parallel line to the, a line that's parallel to this line and goes through this point, and also one that's perpendicular. Okay, so parallel lines have the same slope. So therefore, what I do is I say the slope is equal to -1, because the slope right here is -1, and I set up my definition of slope, difference of the y's over difference of the x's, and I get y equals -x minus 1. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. That means if the slope of the one line is m, the slope of a line that's perpendicular to it will be -1 over m. So if this line had a slope of -1, the slope has to be 1. Putting in my point, I get y minus 2 over x minus a minus 3, or y equals x plus 5. I think most of you got that. That's it. Have a good summer. Peace.